Coop, and I'm back out in my greenhouse today. It's a little chilly, but not too bad. It is like 59 degrees here in my greenhouse. It is cold and drizzly and damp and gray outside, but that's the one good thing about a greenhouse. You can come out here and piddle in your greenhouse and it still be a little warm. Yesterday I went plant shopping again with some of my friends, Si and Sherry, and we went to some different big box stores and looked at their plants, and then we actually stopped at like a little small grower that we like to go to that grows a lot of his own things. He's just kind of getting started cleaning things up just like what we're doing, but he let us go into his greenhouse and we got to shop in the greenhouse. But really it was just a lot of stuff that he had overwintered, and so some things looked a little haggard, but not too bad. But it made me feel better because when I saw his plants, they didn't look any different than my plants that I have overwintered. So it made me feel like I was doing something right. Now y'all have to know, I've done a Master Gardener's class and I read and learn and stuff all the time, but I've never taken like a greenhouse management course or anything like that. So what I do in my greenhouse is just me, it's just what I've learned and what I do, and it's not a professional by any means. But so seeing the professional, his greenhouse, and seeing my plants, it made me feel good because they weren't any different than what mine looked like. So yesterday I got out here with my friend Si and Sherry. We were looking at some of my plants, and he was wanting some plants for a workshop he's doing. And I told Si, I said, give me, a month from now, my plants would look great, but I don't heat my greenhouse, so it's not like I have those professional grower plants that already look really great and, that are in heated greenhouses. So I said, I really don't have a whole lot. But so one of the plants that I saw in here that was just a mess was this pothos plant. So I cut off all the stragglers off of there, all the binding part of it, and cleaned out the pot, which is something I would do every spring anyways, and decided I would cut that off and go ahead and get that some of these vines in some water and let them be rooting out. I'll take them in the house and let them root out that way. So that's something I'm working on today, kind of an unplanned project. So I'm gonna see what we can do here. It won't take me but a minute. I do this every year, but I decided I'd go ahead and get this done. That plant was the first plant you looked at when you came inside my greenhouse, and it just looked so horrible. I had to do something. It was just like I couldn't take it anymore. So and I just found an old coffee can. We save coffee cans. I like to store eggshells and different supplements and things like that in there because it makes it waterproof in my greenhouse. Y'all know I'm all time saving something. And I'm also just going ahead and sticking it down in here because it helps me keep up with what side's what side's up. These look kind of pale because they've been in here, not gotten a lot of sun. It's been cold, kind of had a little cold snap. This is a house plant, so have a little bucket down here. I just throw any stems or leaves, and that just goes in my compost pile. So nothing's going to waste. And I actually cut this all off and back when I brought my plants in from the spring, and used these things that I'm cutting off. I used it to start more hanging baskets that I've got hanging up over there. So these have all grown just since I brought my plants in for the winter. That's pretty good. My husband and I went to the feed store today, and while we were there, he saw a rain gauge that he liked. We have the exact same rain gauge, but we've had it so long it's kind of faded, and you can't read the numbers very well. So he said, I said, why don't you get you a new rain gauge? He said, you know, I was just looking at that. And he said, I think I am. And I said, okay. I said, well, happy Valentine's Day. And so then I started looking around at the feed store, and I found a t-shirt I liked. It had a really cute little windmill on it, real bright windmill. It says, just keep moving. And so he told me, he said, well, happy Valentine's Day. I said, I told the cashier guy, we know him, we've, been shopping there for a long time. I said, well, you know your country when you do your Valentine's shopping at the feed store. He said, what are you talking about? He said, I do all my shopping at the feed store. So, that's how we roll around here. One limb sticking up over here driving me crazy. It didn't look very good. Alright, so we're just about through with this, and look at all these starts of pothos that I will have. I have another video about this. I'll try to link it up here to the top, show y'all what I'm doing. Kind of goes into a little bit more detail about it. This was just a quick thing here. Tired of looking at that yucky, droopy plant when I walked in had all these brown leaves on it and yellowing leaves, and I could get this cleaned up and take it in the house. Get on with my business. You'd be surprised. We went to the store yesterday looking at some of these big box stores. They had some little bitty pothos that they wanted like $10 and $15 for a little start of pothos. And I'm like, oh my goodness. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Easiest stuff in the world to start. I mean, I'm not saying you don't have to sell it, but I don't think you need to pay that kind of money for it. I don't mind paying a lot of money for plants that are unusual, that I haven't seen before, that I don't have, that kind of stuff. But for stuff like this, it's just stick it in there and it's gonna grow. No. And I was so pleased. We went to another local nursery, and my friend Sherry and I were looking at a house plant, and I can't remember China Girl is what she called it. And we both loved it. She said, listen, she said, I'm going to tell y'all right now, because we asked her how you would take care of that plant. And she said, I'm just going to tell y'all right now, that is a very persnickety plant. She said, we've killed more. And she said, they're right there in our houseplant section. They don't get a lot of sun. We've either watered them too much, not enough, got too much sun, not enough sun. She said, we've killed more than we have sold. And she said, if y'all want that, that's fine. If you've taken care of them before and you've done well, great. But she said, I'm just going to tell you, they are not easy to grow. And I was so appreciative of that. We were going to get the small one. The small one was like $13.95 for this house plant, which is not much money. But I mean, if it's going to be so hard and difficult, she said, we kill them all the time. So I was so happy. I said, I really appreciate you saying that to us, because, you don't get that, or even a lot of places wouldn't even know. Some of the big box stores wouldn't even know what it was or how to take care of it. So I was so happy that she, told us about all that. So the next thing I'm going to talk to y'all about is I sat down and did my garden plan. I've done a video on that before, organizing and planning your garden. So link that below. But I want to kind of go over what I'm doing this year and show y'all what all we're going to do. So give me just a minute and we'll get started talking about that. Last year, like every year, I plan out my garden, and I want to show y'all kind of my layouts. I've done this all the way back to, I have them. I've done them before that, but I have them since 2017. And I just want to show y'all, they're just on like a little sheet of paper. It's 2019. Alright, and this was last year's, 2020. And of course, it's a working thing. So it's like I've got things marked, crossed out, put back in place, it's working. All right. But I say these because I want to always look at how and where I planted something from last year. Like I talked to y'all about it on one of my last videos about my tomato plants. Like I had planted my tomatoes back to back. And I don't know what I'll say. I don't know what I was thinking. That was not a good thing to do. Didn't allow airflow. Was just too congested. And so this year, I'm going to plant my tomatoes on one side of my trellis. The next year, I'll move all the tomatoes to the other side of the trellis. And I'll kind of rotate like that. So by looking back at where you planted things the last year, it keeps you from planting things in the same spot every year, which when we first started gardening, my husband did not understand that, why we needed to move things around so much. Well, you can do it 2 or 3 years in a row, but then you'll notice that you start getting more and more bugs there, that kind of stuff, because they get used to that plant being there. But I rotate things around because I grow things in the fall in different spots. So that's also another time that I rotate things in and out. So this year I spent a little bit of time and I retweaked my template. I have a template, but for some reason we had gone in and added more tubs and that kind of thing, so my counts were wrong. And so I was having to try to adjust for that. So I just decided to go ahead and draw out my template again. And it's kind of light because it's in pencil, but I want to show y'all what I'm talking about. So like right here, this is the west side of my garden. And this is the side that has my greenhouse. And it also, in front of my greenhouse, I have like a little flower bed, okay? And then over here is the side with the deck, and that is the south side of my garden. This is the north, and then this would be the east side, okay? Down here in the bottom. So when you're looking at my garden, it would be kind of laid out like this. Like I'm in the greenhouse now, so it would be laid out like this, looking at all my rows out my greenhouse, okay? So we're gonna look at it like that. So right here, I went through and counted all my tubs, and I use cattle syrup tubs. If you're not familiar with that, it's a molasses syrup that cattle producers use, and they feed their cattle, especially in the winter, to supplement their feed. And it's held in a very thick plastic tub, and I've collected those and used those for my garden. Okay, and that's what I grow in. And I think I did the latest count. I think I have either 96 or 98 of those tubs in my garden. Plus I have some raised bed with a wooden frame around them in my garden. And then I have some old feed troughs, water troughs used in my garden as well. And then also, like in my postage stamp garden, I actually plant in the ground. My husband has another little spot that he likes to plant his cantaloupe and stuff like that, and that's an in-ground garden, but that's his little separate little garden that he takes care of. Okay, so I've counted up all my my tubs, and I've drawn this out. It's not really to scale, but it's just for me to be able to function and know what's in my garden. All right, and then I also put where there was trellises. I just drew a line if they were between the tubs where there might be a trellis. Okay, so last year over here I grew what did I grow over there? Yes, I grew tomatoes over here. So this time I'm going to grow some cucumbers, but just on this one side. And then over here I'm going to grow my herbs. This is kind of a shady area. I have a big tree right here. So especially on this side, this south side is more shady than this side. So an herb or something, green beans, would do well on that side of those tubs. Then on this side, I have a trellis that goes all the way down here. I'm going to plant tomatoes here. I'm going to plant peas here. Peppers all along this side. Some squash, some cherry tomatoes. Over here I have some tubs up along the fence that goes to our dog pen. And I'll just have a few of them, and I've got garlic in them already. I've got a flower bed right here. My asparagus right here, and I also have some garlic planted right there. Though I didn't realize that garlic and asparagus do not do well together, so I won't do that again. And then I have another feed trough, watering trough right here that I actually planted my lemon tree in. I've always had my lemon tree in a tub, and it just didn't seem to be, I wasn't getting any, I was getting tons of blooms, but no pollination and everything. And I had heard in our area that you can actually grow a lemon tree in the ground or in a big pot and leave it outside. So that's what I did. I planted it in this trough. So it's either going to do well or not do well, but it still has leaves on it. So I think it's going to actually do better, because normally that lemon tree completely loses all its leaves when I bring it in here to this greenhouse. We have our gate that goes out to our front yard, the east side of our house, and then I have my mulch pile, and then we have a deck right over here. I have blue bonnets right here. I usually plant herbs in the ends of these troughs. Okay, so far what I've got planted is all my tomatoes are going to go on this north side of my trellises, and next year they'll go on the south side of my trellises, and that way I can keep up with back and forth where they're going every year. Then, like I say, I'm gonna have tomatoes here, peas here, peppers here, some squash over here, cherry tomatoes, the garlic. I'm gonna have green beans all in this right here, and I may plant more green beans right here. Okay, now that leaves me with this whole row empty, and these right here empty, which is good because like I can grow some zucchini or any plants that I have that people give me that I want to try. If I find some plants that I want to try, it kind of gives me room to expand and just add some different things to my garden that I don't normally grow. But also too, normally I would plant one of these with my onions. So by moving my onions, that freed up a whole bed here in my garden. So it has saved me a lot of space by doing my onions like I did in that previous video when I spread out my onions throughout other parts of my garden. So I'm really excited about that. Who knows, I may grow some corn. I don't know, though corn would not do good in these planters right here, because when they got tall they would totally shade out anything here. So I don't know, we'll see what, but it leaves me with some room, some wiggle room. The sun comes up east here and sets in the west, but then my greenhouse, and I have some trees and stuff right there, kind of blocks all that west sun off my garden. So that's how my garden does really well in East Texas, because it is kind of shaded from that hot west sun. So I just wanted to show y'all my organizational chart. I would really highly recommend that y'all do this for your garden, because if you don't, what happens is you start growing stuff in here and you plant it and you think, oh, I should have really planted that over there. That would have been better. I'm utilizing the space better. And you'll just have a big old mess. So I would highly suggest you plot out your garden and kind of have an idea of where you're going to plant things. And then it also helps when people come to help plant in your garden with you, because you can say, you know, all my tomatoes are going to go down here, all my peas are going to go down here, that kind of thing. So they'll have an idea of where things are going to be planted if they're helping you. So that's my little tip and tricks for y'all today. Thanks for visiting with me, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.